Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to the channel. My name's Dan. Let's take a look at pre-design. We're going to take a look at Google Earth. What's nice about Google Earth is that you can go and explore the entire world, and you can zoom in on a specific location if you would like. Now, this could be assigned to you, or you could be exploring an area for a nice site to build on. We're going to take over this tent structure for our project here. So I'm going to go into 2D mode by clicking on 2D. And then over here, we can say new project, create project in Google Drive. In that new project, you can go and add different features. If you're designing a feature that's maybe inside of a 3D object, like this little marker ends up landing inside this tent, if you zoom out far enough, you'll see it again. And if you zoom in, it might hide, and that's fine. Then I want to go to new feature. I'm going to do draw line or shape. Under draw line or shape, I'm just going to draw this fairly rectangular. Then I'm going to call this site boundary, and under the fill color, I'm going to do a yellow. So I have my site location and my site boundary. Now it's really cool on both of these. I threw in a description here on the site location for the longitude and latitude, and to get it to pop up like that, you can go and edit the site location marker. Here's the description, so that's why that pops up. And I just copy and pasted that from the latitude and longitude that's down here. So you just go and throw that right up in there. And then it's really easy. When you click on site location, you can go and copy this information real fast and easy if you need it for anything else. And we're actually going to use this for our next part of our site documentation, which is going to be CAD Mapper. So you can go and share and link out of Google by going to this little share link icon, and you can go and share that. And you can also copy that longitude, latitude, as well as you can use screenshots. Right now I have it where maps, everything is on. I can also go to clean. That way we can just focus on the information that we want on our project. So now that we have that, if you go to cadmapper.com, we can go and search for our longitude, latitude. If I didn't have such an iconic place for where I'm building in Google Earth, you would want to look for like key features where water shapes the land, and then go into CAD Mapper and find those key geographic features, zoom in then to Google Earth, and then zoom into CAD Mapper. I really just want to get a little bit of the surrounding buildings in context. So I'm going to take 3D buildings if the heights are available, set false height if there's no 3D data. 3 meters is around 10 feet. I'm going to change that. Just like the basic building height that's around, you can go and set it to be whatever you think it should be. And so to help with that in Google Earth, there is a measurement tool, and you can try to measure heights. It is fairly inaccurate, but you could try to measure 3D heights. But for the most part, the measurement tool in Google Earth is best for 2D measurements. And you can go and set the unit of measurement up here, and go and double check some things about your site. So anyways, in CAD Mapper, everything's in meters, so we have to know that going into other software that this is going to be importing as a file that's built out of meters. I'm going to go and make a Rhino file for this. You can use SketchUp, Rhino, AutoCAD, all those work pretty well. And then I'm going to take topography. I don't want the contours right now. For the road geometry, if I do outlines, that's fine, but I could also do mesh surfaces. Either one will work for us. I plan on eventually just hiding those. So go ahead and do either or. The benefits of mesh is kind of like the 3D surface. The benefits of outlines are we can like create rails for like a sweep for a road if we wanted to turn it into 3D, or in like just a 2D graphic, it looks a little cleaner so you don't have all the triangulation from the mesh. So long story short, I'm actually going to end up choosing outlines. Highways 10, major roads 8, minor roads 6, paths 1.5 meters. You can go and adjust those if you want to. Let's say you know for a fact it's a really big highway, you can go and change the width on that. If you're working with feet, make sure you do a little conversion between feet and meters before you capture what you want. There's free files up to 1 kilometer squared. It's creating just this section here. And it's going to give me a nice pack that I can unzip later. When I get into concept design, I'll go and develop this site. But for right now, we're trying to import it. Let's cool is it gives me that block, that massing for the Ferris wheel, as well as some building heights around it, as well as the height of the existing tent, which we can go and explode out in Rhino and delete and then rebuild on this site. The topography, it's going to tell us a little bit about that. Obviously, this is a pretty flat area. I mean, the water's lower, and then it kind of tears up. You can see how it tears up. Right? We've got a whole set of stairs here. And hopefully the Rhino file captures that. If it doesn't, we can go and modify as we need to. So once that comes in, available for download, we're going to click on download, and then we'll go and use that in just a moment. Now, once we have those pieces of information, we can go and create a context diagram in Photoshop as well. So what's nice about this little preview here, we have a 2D and a 3D, which can be pretty easy to help create a diagram in Photoshop. So I'm going to right click and also save this 2D image. And then I'm going to go to the 3D as well. Right click, save image as, site 3D. And then we also have obviously Google Earth, which we can go and capture some images from. So if I click on 2D, and then if you double click on the Earth or you double click on the compass, it'll then take you to that tool, and you can click and make the north arrow going up. And then we can go and take a screenshot of this, and I like to use snipping tool for that, which is a default program that Windows comes with. When you take your snipping tool, sometimes it's nice to also capture the unit of measure as well as the north arrow in case you want to use this for something else. And then like you can bring this image into a CAD program and then scale it based on this scale bar that's here graphically. And then knowing where the north arrow is always handy in case you have to have like a project north and a true north in your actual model. So now that I have this information, I'm going to go and save this too. And I'm just going to save this under like a pre-designed folder here. I'm just going to call it site. And let's go into Photoshop and create a little diagram to help illustrate and communicate the context of what's going on here. If I want to also turn off 3D buildings, so I'm going to go and capture one more. I made a 300 DPI 17-inch wide, 11-inch tall board here. And we can view our rulers. And we can set our rulers to be inches. So to place our image, we're going to go to File, Place Embedded, find where you saved your image to. Let's go and grab that place. Go ahead and hit Enter. Now we're going to use, in this version of Photoshop, there's a really cool tool, Object Selection Tool. Otherwise, you could do a polygon lasso or a magic wand. You can figure out what selection method works best for you. And find it. There, found it. Now I'm just going to do a Control J to jump it out so you can see what it was able to do. I'm going to go and call this site boundary. And now on the actual site 2D, let's go and manipulate what that layer looks like. So we want to do a couple of things. We can drop the opacity on this thing to kind of wash it out a little bit. And then we can also use an adjustment layer on it, hue and saturation, drag that down to be just above the site, hold down Alt, click on the seam in between the two layers, and that'll assign it directly to that layer. And then from there, we can go and desaturate the image a little bit and make it a little bit brighter if we would like. The idea here is for us to be able to put some text on top of here. Let's go and take a look at what we've done. So that looks pretty good. So now from here, we can go and throw on a north arrow. We can go and annotate. There's a lot of ways we can go. And I'd like to show you a resource that I've used for inspiration on creating diagrams for site analysis, as well as for creating like certain visual effects. One of them is by Alex Hograf. So if we take a look at this, we're not going to look at the entire thing, but for his Philly Bridge project, in general, some nice fading, good colors throughout, but nice fading on the image and really highlighting the site and what's important. Here using red and zooming in gradually on the maps. Other things to note that he includes: nice north arrow, graphic scale, So all these things you can recreate in Photoshop. The nounproject.org is a great website to go and find some icons like north arrows to go and drop into Photoshop as well. Here, a really cool 3D map, which we can generate this image from CAD Mapper and then overlay in Photoshop some cool illustrations on top of that. The other text that I would recommend is Site Analysis by Edward T. White, and this was recommended by one of my architecture professors. So if we go back to that one, this one's more of an old school kind of sketching book. So if you have an iPad or like a Surface tablet, you can go and create some really cool diagrams by overlaying your images and then going into to this book for some inspiration on how you can go and document some key features and ideas for your site. So just diagramming the information, that's what this chapter is about, but you'll see that these are some of the main topics that you can go and diagram. And there's some good examples here of what those would look like. So for example, just diagramming your zoning information, your setbacks, right, your property lines. The idea here is a series of simple diagrams to collectively tell the story rather than trying to have one complex diagram that jams everything into it. So as a workflow in pre-design, using Photoshop, I would highly recommend having one file with one base image and then having folders for all of the other images on there. So if I go and slide over a little bit here, you'll see over on this way, you can go and make a folder for your base images. So if I go and do that right now, highlight everything by holding down Shift, click on the folder and throwing those into a group, and we call that base image. And then from here, you can make a folder. And then with the visibility settings on the folder, we can go and name that folder based on what that theme of that diagram is going to be. So let's call this one Site Access. And in this folder, with it expanded, I can go and draw some different things for to document this site access. Less information. I might go just like this. And to preserve everything else with the folder highlighted, I'm going to hit the clipping mask tool. And now that clipping mask tool is applied to the folder. If I ever want to deactivate it, I just right click, say disable mask. I can see the rest of the information that I need. So it's preserved and then enable mask. Now with this base image folder selected, I can go with the move arrow and move this right to the middle of my board. So it's framed nicely with this white background. If you go to the nounproject.org, I highly recommend going to this website. It's awesome. On this website, you can go and download North Arrow and just some other arrows. And this makes diagramming pretty nice and easy. The North Arrow, I'm going to throw into my base image. And in my base image, I'm going to go and find that North Arrow. And I'm going to use the move command and then Control T. And I'm going to size that thing way down. Hold on Alt, zoom in, grab it, throw it in the corner, hit enter. Now with this North Arrow, you can quickly change it to white if you have it selected on the layers, and then go up to image adjustments, invert, and now it's white. Oh, you can't see it. Let me go and move my, there we go. Okay, so then over here under arrow, we'll move that one into site access. So I'm collapsing the folder for base image. I'm going to arrow, alt and scroll with arrow, Control T. Let's move that way down. So if I have the largest arrow pointing right here, Control T on it, shrink it down, rotate it. You know, we've got a little alleyway, we've got this main way. You know, maybe there's a connection through these buildings, maybe there's not. We'd have to go and investigate Google Earth to get a better idea of what's going on. We drop in some text that then says site access. We could use the word diagram or not. It could be seen as redundant. And voila, we have our diagram. And you can just go and repeat, rinse, wash, repeat, right? For all of your diagrams that you want to include. Now, I would focus on diagrams, not for the sake of making diagrams. In pre-design, I would focus on diagrams that are informative, that you think will help influence your approach on your concepts. So, for example, site access is important, right? It's going to help determine maybe where our building is going to be front facing. But I might want to also have a diagram illustrating just some key features that are around the site, such as parking garage and this big Ferris wheel, right? That's a huge visual, as well as the water. So I might make like an adjacency diagram where I illustrate the things that are immediately surrounding the structure. So that'll be the next one that I do, and I'll probably just speed up the video for that part. Okay, so that's just the adjacencies labeled with some just notes on some of the heights, some approximations on about how tall things are next to it, as well as how low things are. And I might want to put in like a dashed line or something to just represent where the seam is between the boardwalk and the actual platform that is higher than it. I'm going to go and do that real quick. And I could use a pen tool for that. Yeah, let's go and find it. The pen tool, doing a shape. The shape is going to have a dashed line. Could do dotted as well, either one. Usually something between 1 and 3 is okay. Enter. All right, cool. So we have this adjacency diagram all done. Now to export these as separate images, I would turn on the eyeball for site access. Then I would do file, export or save as. And with this, or save a copy even, with this, we can go and drop down to a different type, like PDF or export as PNG. There's different ways to get images out. So that would be the one. And then once you have that, go and turn on the other diagram and export that. Okay, so I have this saved as a site adjacencies diagram. I did not end up saving my site access one because I didn't really develop that one very far, but you can see where I was going with that. All right, so for pre-design work, that is almost it. We have the program, building classification, wants, needs, all of that good stuff. So either that was assigned to you or given to you, either the client or professor, whoever, might give you a list of spaces that you need. Or if you don't know the spaces that you need, I would recommend a text called Time Saver Standards. It's a large textbook. It's huge. And it actually has a lot of different building types and classifications, as well as the types of programs that would go into those spaces. Time Saver Standards. This is the book. This is a really old edition. I don't think they've made many new editions in the recent past. But if you go and take a look at this, it's really kind of cool. So it's something I had to pick up once I found out about it. So you can see it's going to cover everything from residential, commercial, hospitality, educational, healthcare, cultural and entertainment, governmental and public, religious buildings, transportation. So let's go and take just a real quick look at some of these, actually one of these. Let's take a look at museums, 677, 675. Here's the cultural and entertainment. All right, so you almost have like case studies here, as well as some different ways you would organize the functioning of some of these spaces. Of course, there's something to be said about going through something fresh, right? Without any preconceived notions of what some of these spaces should be or could be. But then again, there's also something to be said about taking responsibility on looking at what currently has happened or what has happened in the past and using that to help inform you. So that way, what has been learned from the past is now replicated in your future designs. Okay, so that's it for pre-design. So go ahead, make those diagrams, find out information about your site, have a good understanding of your program. So that when we go into concept design in the next phase, you'll be able to take that information and help that drive your designs. Once again, create diagrams that are informative, that you think have the biggest impact on your concepts. See you in the next video.